Thank you, Tara and Rick. That was lovely. I'd like to welcome you here today. I'm a member of the worship committee. It's just one of our many volunteer jobs. If someone would like to, if you're interested, I'd be glad to tell you about how to get more involved. Come, come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You are welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes. You are welcome here. No matter what you've experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. I am Luci Malin, and I'm proud to be a member of this congregation. Reverend Lora is with her dad as he recovers from surgery, and she'll be back soon. She wrote this service that Brenda and I are about to give, so we didn't really have to do much this time. But I have a few announcements, and then we'll continue. Scott, do you want to come up?
Good morning. I'm Scott Renshaw. I'm pleased to serve as the chair of the Pledge Drive and Stewardship Committee. It just occurred to me a moment ago that anyone who is conscientious enough to set their clocks forward and be here on time probably aren't the people I need to remind to pledge, but one never knows. So I am here to let you know that we are doing very well. That chart over there is a little off only because $300,000 is our total budget. Our pledge target is $260,000, so we are well over halfway. We are about $152,000 right now in pledges. But we do still have a little bit of work to do. So I will be here today. I have a QR code that you can scan for the online version. I also have a few paper forms for the old school folks who would prefer to use that. Let's make that spring ahead even farther today. Thank you.
I've done the pledge drive before. I mean, let it. Scott, you were doing a wonderful job, and thank you. It's the vital part of this church, and it's, in my opinion, not much fun. So let's see, where are we? The Utah Islamic Center in South Jordan will be hosting Iftar, breaking of the daily fast, during Ramadan. Ramadan starts today. The whole community of South Valley is welcome at any day to partake. Our anti-racism task force will be announcing a few dates for us to go together to an Offertory. We will meet you in the parking lot of South Valley and carpool together. We hope you will join us. And for people who might not know, Ramadan means that faithful Muslims do not eat between dawn and sunset, and then they have a big feast. So that's what this is all about. So now we'll share the warmth of our community, and I invite you to turn around or stand up and find maybe someone you don't know and have a short conversation that we continue after church downstairs in the social hall.
Oh, you'd like to remain standing. Poet Kazim Ali thinks the fluidity of traditions is an important part of understanding Ramadan. Some Muslims, he points out, don't celebrate at all. It's not like it's solely about this thing we can then explain, Ali said. It's many things to many people. Ali was born in the United Kingdom to Muslim parents of Indian, Iranian, and Egyptian descent. His work often explores the singular bond between faith and daily life. And as we light our chalice, the symbol of our faith and the light of our commitments to love and justice, please receive these words from poet Kazim Ali. You wanted to be so hungry you would break into branches and have to choose between the starving month's 19th, 21st, and 23rd evenings. The liturgy begins to echo itself, and why does it matter? If the groundwater is too scarce, one can stretch nets into the air and harvest the fog. Hunger opens you till illiteracy, thirst makes clear the starving pattern. The thick night so quiet, the spinning spider pauses. The angel stops, whispering for a moment. The secret night could already be over. You will have to listen very carefully. You are never going to know which night's mouth is sacredly reciting and which night's recitation is secretly mere wind. Let us light our chalice. Those at home are invited to light a chalice and share in the ritual. Please join me in saying our words that are above. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. And you may be seated, except for those who have a birthday, please come forward, a birthday in March. So we have a blessing for those with their birthdays, and for any who might have been shy to come up, there are stickers you can get later. May this coming year open your mind to new possibilities, discoveries, and dreams. May your heart be joyful and free. May your spirit be moved to deeper wisdom. When adventure beckons, may your courage rise. When sorrow arrives, may friends surround you quickly and well. And may your compassion for self and others grow ever more rooted in loving kindness, such that your life proves this essential truth, that with love, all things are possible. May this blessing wend its way into your consciousness whenever you need it most. This world is better because you're in it, and we are glad you are here. Yay! For all ages, if the young or young at heart want to come forward, we have a story about Ramadan. So this story is called Hannah and the Ramadan Gift. Okay. When her Dada John gently shook her awake, Hannah opened her eyes and was confused by the darkness. It's not even light yet. Why are we getting up? Oh, it's Ramadan, she shouted. She had been counting down to the first day of Ramadan, the holy month of fasting for Muslims, and it was finally here. She wanted to do fasting, which is a common thing that people do during this month. But Dada John said, fasting's for grown-ups, not growing children. But if I can't fast, how do I celebrate, she said. By saving the world, he said. Just a small thing. When she heard his response, she forgot her disappointment and wondered what they would be doing. He says, let's stop at the soup kitchen on the way to school. Why? Don't we have plenty of soup? Dada John explained, the soup isn't for us. When we fast during Ramadan, we feel hungry. It reminds us that all over the world, there are people who don't have enough food, so we must help them. But the world has so many people. How can we help them all? She asked. We can help our neighbors, he said, and that's worth the world. On the 11th day, Dadajan woke Hannah before sunrise. "Shall we save the world again today, Dadajan?" Hannah said. Then she remembered that it was also an important day at school. There was a science fair and she didn't want to be late. "Don't worry," he said. "We're up in plenty of time to stop at the shelter before you go to school. Let's go." "But Dadajan, the people at the shelter won't know that we're the ones that made the donation." "Why does that matter, Hannah?" asked Dadajan. "Sometimes it's enough to help people simply out of love. Besides," he whispered with a wink, "all the best superheroes work in secret, right?" When Hannah got to school, she got ready for the science fair. "Amazing model, Hannah," her friend Danny said. "Thanks, Hannah. What's yours?" "It's a globe showing the dates and flight path for Amelia Earhart." And Danny put down the globe, and it started to roll off the table. "Danny, wait!" The globe was so close to falling off, and Hannah caught it before anyone noticed. And then they announced, "Danny wins." Hannah was happy for Danny. He was a good friend, and the globe was amazing. But no one knew that Hannah had saved the day. On Saturday, 20 days of Ramadan had passed. "Remember, you have a play date with Sarah," said Dadajan. Sarah's family had just moved into the neighborhood. "But I was going to work on my art project today, and I don't even know Sarah." "Hannah, that's not very nice. We need to welcome new neighbors, like family." "I'll make you a deal, Hannah," Dadajan said. "I'll go with you, and if you're not having fun, we'll leave when you want, okay?" "I won't have fun," muttered Hannah. But then they ate some delicious food, and they looked at pictures from Sarah's old school, and pretty soon they lost track of time altogether. "Ready to go?" asked Dadajan. "But we haven't finished the game," Hannah and Sarah said at the same time. And then when they got home, Dadajan showed Hannah an old family photo album. She couldn't believe what she saw. "This is from the year when we moved to this place. We didn't know anyone, and our friends got us through." That evening, when Hannah thought about her Ramadan, she was sad. She did the right thing to help Danny, but she felt sad nobody knew. And she was ashamed that she didn't want to play with Sarah at first. And it was the last day of Ramadan. Sunset during Ramadan is called iftar, said Hannah. "That's right," said Dadajan. "After iftar, we break our fast, and when the sun sets on the last day of Ramadan, it's Eid al-Fitr celebration," Hannah exclaimed. And Dadajan smiled. "Do you think you made the world a better place by helping your neighbors this Ramadan?" "I tried, but I don't think it worked." "I wouldn't be too sure about that," said Dadajan. And so the next day they went to the mosque and they went to the cemetery to honor their beloveds who had passed, and they held a party and they had a wonderful time. But Hannah said, "How do I really know if I helped the world this Ramadan?" Well, let's see. Did you help your friends when they needed you? She thought about it. Yeah. Did you help people simply out of love? And she thought about Danny's globe. Yeah. And did you show love to those who had no one else? I think so, said Hannah as she thought about Sarah. Then you have your answer. It would still be many years before Hannah could fast for Ramadan, but she'd helped her neighbors and her world, and that's what mattered. And that's our story for today. Thanks, you guys, for listening. And we'll sing you out. Yeah. Now we have the opportunity to hear from Sophia Hawes-Tingey.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sophia Hawes-Tingey. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm here to present my South Valley UUS story. So I am just learning here that I am, according to the Enneagram, I am a type 4 personality, which means that I'm a romantic. I crave to be authentic and unique, which means that part of my mind is battling with the fact that how can I be classified? So I have definitely been on a spiritual journey. I have evolved over the decades to essentially, I would categorize myself as a mystic, humanist, agnostic. At this point, my upbringing my parents were preachers' kids, both of them, that they met together from my mother. My mother believed in compassion. She lived compassion almost every day of her life. My father believed in service, and he also loved science. And he pushed me that he felt that I would do great in science and engineering. So for a religious family, growing up with these particular aspects meant that in a lot of religious organizations, they didn't really fit, especially as the 60s moved into the 80s and the 90s and beyond. So I essentially incorporated those values, and each of those journeys, being the authentic human being that I am, they did not occur on their own separate timeline. All of these happened for me together, which has helped evolve me from originally growing up in a Baptist community in a Baptist church to realizing that there's something more out there, something larger, not exactly sure what it is, and it doesn't really matter, right? The only thing that matters is the here and the now and what we do about it. So why South Valley? How did I get to South Valley? Well, as I was leaving the Baptist church because I started feeling like they wouldn't accept who I was authentically, I basically went and tried Pentecostalism for a bit. Didn't quite agree with the complete worship of specific just words and not actually the compassion and everything that goes behind it. And so then after having a mystic experience of my own, a friend of mine invited me to go check out the Unitarian Universalist Church. So in Fort Worth, Texas, I wound up finding a Unitarian Universalist church. Its congregation was smaller than this one, right? It was maybe about 30 or 40 people in attendance at any particular time. And I went there in my prior gender first, even though I was already beginning the process of transitioning. And I just asked how it would be okay to show up as the other person. They said, absolutely. They actually welcomed me more as my authentic self, which now, that type 4 personality coming in and say, oh yes, here I am. And when I had to move because of the economy, I found myself in Kentucky, where I attended the First U Church there, was welcomed for who I was. And then wound up coming here after trying first the First Unitarian downtown. I'm used to hardback pews, but I also started learning that I like something that felt more community, right? I love something that made me feel that it was about us working together, not some person on high telling us how we should live. So nothing against First U, they just had the trappings that reminded me of that authoritarian religion that I had come from. So I am here because, and I continue to come here, because I feel engaged. I feel like I belong. I feel like I'm valued for who I am and the authenticity that I bring to the table. I feel that a lot of the things that I value, the compassion, which I believe that's one of the aspects of Ramadan, is trying to engender compassion. It's a moment to fast and remind yourselves that there are other people who are hungry in this world who can't get enough to eat. To engender service. And my father once told me, because he was a Vietnam vet, right, that every generation is going to have to fight for freedom. And I thought he meant that on a global perspective, and maybe he did. And I now know today, in today's struggles and today's battles, every generation has to stand up for our civil rights, right? We have to stand up for our democracy, because the moment we stop fighting for those values, we will lose them, and that fight is with us. So I'm getting the signal that I have 2 minutes, which is great because I'm already about to Oh, we agree. Okay. So, and I'm not going to do that because that reminds me of Richard Nixon, who said, "I'm not a crook." So, again, because I believe this congregation believes in compassion, we believe in service, and there are some of us here who believe in science and engineering, right? And that we can work within whatever system or mystery that we have, that this universe. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophia. That reminded me of when I heard the moment that Nixon had resigned. I was driving home from Yosemite. I had a summer job up there. I was coming home for a few days, and it came on the radio, and I was just like stunned because I didn't think that was going to happen. But it's one of those moments, at least in my life, that I truly remember. Where it's now time for the offertory. I worked with a Mormon man who was very sweet. He became a good friend, but he just could not understand that we paid our clergy. I mean, he was like, "What?" And I don't think he ever understood, even though I explained it a million times. But we do have our own minister who works for us, and we pay her for that service that she provides to us, and that money has to come from somewhere. And that offertory that we take every Sunday, part of that money goes to help us provide all of the extras that we have in this church that are quite fun. So this community, our church, and its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support our work, and for this we are grateful. Your gifts help ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. And part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. This month, for the 5th year, South Valley will continue to sponsor the education of Bishnu Kapati, a young student living in Nepal. In March, 50% of our mid-month offerings will be used to fund this scholarship. Please see the bulletin board for details, pictures, and letters from Bishnu, and give generously. Please join me in reading our offertory words. They're printed in your order of service or up behind me, I think. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together, we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. We will now accept the offering. For those at home, you are invited to use the giving link in the online order of service. I invite the ushers to come forward at this time, and we will be enjoying our South Valley Singers Choir.
And I'd just like to say, if you'd like to follow along with the words we'll be singing there in the gray hymnal, it's 183. And I just also recognize this isn't meant to be, since our theme today is kind of on Islam, I'm not trying to equate Buddhism with Islam, but I just really like that this is a traditional tune that is set to some other words that are outside of the Judeo-Christian tradition, and I don't think that the philosophy here is incompatible with that of Islam, but enjoy.
Forever blown across the tumult
For all we have received and all we found the courage to give, may we be truly thankful. May these gifts be a blessing to South Valley and to Vishnu. We have a letter from Reverend Lora to our congregation. Beloveds, I am sad to not be with you this Sunday, as I have very much been looking forward to sharing this particular topic with you as part of our series on faith, and what it means to ask and answer this question: what is God, sacred, or spirit? I'll be back next Sunday, and thank you for giving me the grace to be with family as I need to at this time. As I write this on Saturday afternoon, I'm chuckling a bit, for it seems I am writing you a letter as your spiritual leader, which is, of course, a very time-honored tradition, biblical, in fact. I deeply hope you will enjoy the irony of this for our UU congregation in 2024. Last week, we focused on your personal questions, which I will be answering weekly in happenings starting next week. This week, we begin to turn our attention to what other people experience and how some of the major world religions respond to the questions. It's fairly obvious to each of us that there's quite a bit of diversity among the various faith traditions. What might not be as available is that this difference deeply shapes our understanding of the human condition and our responses to the world. For many centuries now, the reigning perspective on world religions has been that we are all more or less climbing the same mountain. Many contemporary theologians, however, have rejected this framework as problematic. It assumes a universality that is not supported by the evidence or experience of most of humanity. We're beginning to understand how our previous assumptions of universality reflect the dominance of Western thought systems, and how this expectation has led to misunderstanding, division, and tragic harm to people who follow a path that does not match the Western paradigm. This is an important conversation for us to undertake. It's timely, necessary, and critical to our current time of flux. Creating real solutions to political division, racial and economic inequality, climate disruption, and a rapidly changing human-technology interface requires that we create good containers for dialogue with others, especially those who approach the world from a wholly different context and ground their values in a non-Western framework. As Unitarian Universalists, we have always sought to be the curious ones, the ones open to new ideas, and how interaction with difference enriches our lives and supports greater peace and understanding. This has served us well and is the perspective I call you to this morning. As you listen to the words and the music and the poetry written from within the Islamic tradition, I invite you to consider this. What does Islam, also an incredibly diverse faith tradition, have to show me and us about our own humanity and the needs of the world today? So that is my letter for you this morning, steeped in the ancient tradition of exchanging ideas in the written word, and I look forward to your responses in the weeks to come. With love, Reverend Lora.
As UUs, most of us do not observe Ramadan. However, we have always been an inclusive faith, and some members are observant Muslims. We also have a number of Muslim UU ministers serving in our congregations across the nation. We embrace this diversity because we know that it fosters inclusivity, understanding, and greater peace within our congregations and the communities in which we live. Today, we think about what Ramadan means for those who observe it and what we are called to be as UUs alongside our Muslim siblings in faith.
This week, as has been mentioned, Muslims begin their observance of Ramadan, a month-long period of fasting from dawn to dusk, prayer, celebration, and acts of service. For those observing Ramadan, this is a sacred time of introspection, discipline, and growth. Here are some of the ways our Muslim neighbors and friends understand and engage with this observance and the values and ideas they may be exploring. Self-awareness and discipline. It highlights our dependence on basic necessities and challenges observers to consider their relationship with food and with consumption. Empathy and compassion. By experiencing hunger, Muslims develop a stronger connection to those who struggle with food insecurity. This fosters empathy and motivates acts of charity, reminding us of our interconnectedness. When I hear this as a UU, I notice it aligns with our values of social justice. Ramadan emphasizes self-sacrifice, empathy for the less fortunate, and social justice. These values align strongly with UU principles of promoting a more just and equitable world.
Here are a few more ideas to consider during Ramadan. Gratitude and humility. Going without food for a period allows us to appreciate the blessings we often take for granted. It cultivates humility by reminding us of our human limitations and dependence on external factors. Resilience and perseverance. Completing the fast requires willpower and perseverance. It teaches us that we can overcome challenges and develop inner strength through self-discipline. Importance of community. Ramadan emphasizes shared meals and prayers, strengthening social bonds and fostering a sense of community. It highlights that we are social creatures who thrive in connection with others. As you use, we honor that each of us must work to find meaning in our own lives, and that taking time to reflect on our lives is a worthy and important undertaking. We share a desire for self-improvement, for helping others, and living a meaningful life with our Muslim companions. We also believe, and we are committed to, the idea and practice of interfaith dialogue. We believe that seeking mutual understanding builds bridges, combats prejudice, and fosters greater safety and security for all people. Muslims are dedicated to lifelong learning, building strong communities, and human thriving. We share this dedication with our Muslim neighbors.
And a final pathway of shared understanding, spirituality and transcendence. Fasting is seen as a way to connect with the divine and achieve spiritual growth. It reminds us of the human capacity for self-transcendence and the desire for meaning beyond this material world. As you use, we are committed to a theological flexibility and freedom of thought. This is our way of fostering opportunities for all humans to overcome our challenges and thrive. Our Muslim friends also honor the spiritual path that allows and leads to greater understanding, compassion, and joy. Please join Luci and I now in a time of silent reflection, and after this we will join one another in song to close our time of worship. You may close your eyes or leave them open as you wish. Relax into your seat, and let us have some time for reflection. And let us hold what has come to us in this time, and let us remember we are all connected. And now we do our closing hymn. It's in the green hymnal, 1028, The Fire of Commitment, and the words will be up here. And this is one we can really get into. Stand as you'd like, and let's sing.
With the fire of the midnight sun.
Please remain standing as you wish and join us in our actions as we extinguish our chalice. The words are in your order of service and behind me, and you are invited to say them out loud with me. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. We'll hold each other in our hearts until we meet again. And now we will have the benediction.
You read this.
So I'm going to read a short poem by Rumi. Love isn't the work of the tender and the gentle. Love is the work of wrestlers. The one who becomes a servant of lovers is really a fortunate sovereign. Don't ask anyone about love. Ask love about love. Love is a cloud that scatters pearls. And now we'll have Tara and Rick, or no.